twin pillar, none other than Blue Pillar 44 himself, aka Pope Pablo in the building. Peace to the
Peace to the
God.
family. Peace, love, and light. Yes, indeed.
Indeed, indeed, man. First and foremost, happy May. Happy May for
Happy May
everybody in the
Day.
building. Happy May Day. All right. You were saying something, Blue?
I was about to ask you, you have any monumental memories for May 1st, for May Day?
Ah,
In your
man.
lifetime, in your timeline?
In my timeline, I would have to really, you know what I would have to do? Go to Facebook and let them give me my little timeline. I would
Yeah,
have to
I
take
did.
a trip over there because once I see one picture, I'm able to align that picture with my timeline, and it just falls right into place. So I don't know.
I remember it was a Sunday. It was a King Simon event at National Black Theater, but it had something to do with maybe it was Queen of Fool's graduation ceremony,
Okay.
but it was definitely a Queen of Fool event. And that day, May 1st, 2010, I released Soul Gold Water, which was the 12-ounce glass alkaline. Uh, when I was doing the 8.5 alkaline with the gold drops in it.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, the bottled waters. That's when I came out with that on May 1st. That
Mm,
birthday of that product,
okay, okay.
Ocean 14 Corp. Yeah, man.
All right. And you remember that clearly, huh?
Yeah, I remember that day. I remember that May Day. I was like, we should always do an overlay of these other days that we don't like the meaning of with meaningful ritual or ceremony. So we could
Right.
always, celebrate our own thing.
That's a fact.
But, it's also a key day. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
You
we
got
are
me
in
want to go.
May. We are in the fifth month. We are now
Sir.
5-pointed star. Very interesting.
It definitely is. Shout out to everybody in the building, both on IG and the family on YouTube, whatnot. Salute
Yes.
to everybody. But yeah, let's talk about why we're here today. And let's have a few updates. It's been a minute since we was able to hop
Been a
on these
minute.
platforms together.
Been a minute. Lot going on.
And there's a lot going on in the world right now. I want to start the conversation of today with a news story that has been gaining a lot of traction. It's more of a global story, I'm assuming, than it is a local story, and that is the mass protests that are taking place around the world right now in support of the good brother Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso, and our brothers and sisters in the African nations' right to exist, and their right to their resources, their rights to
Yeah. Yes, I'm listening.
their rights to their sovereignty, and also their God-given rights to fight against vampires that are encroaching upon their quote unquote juke joint. So could we briefly just speak about the geopolitical ramifications of what we're seeing, the theater of war that's playing out on the world stage right now, and what is the setup that you see in your peripheral?
Yeah. I mean, this will definitely go into elements of my presentation this upcoming Saturday. But, you know, if you don't mind, I'll touch on it if you really want me to share
Briefly,
clarity.
briefly, of course.
Um, Again, we're seeing a universal declaration of nah, nigga, we ain't having it. You know what I'm saying? Like, not this time. Not with this one. and there's gonna be broad repercussions if you get that one fucked up because they see something, for lack of a better term, messianic in his leadership,
Right.
and it's a symbol of something that is not only needed and necessary, but they know is going to impregnate and germinate the minds in the wombs, you know, to give birth in the next few generations of ones that are greater than him. But he is definitely the template, and he is the people's champion, you know. And I knew immediately, even based on the whole aspect of the T's and the twin pillars, and you know, I knew in the fact that Trump was meeting with the French president first. I knew that that was on the chopping block, and I
Right.
knew that when they went in there and sunned the military utilizing DEI, they were throwing them under the deodorant because they always was speaking about an agenda that they were fit to unveil. That you needed to be on the same accord with them and share the same mindset to see worldview this the way that they see it. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
now they got that dude. He's parroting the thoughts and ideas that are being implemented through the prism of the magosphere, because that's the brain trust that operates the military apparatus or the military industrial,
Right.
right? Um, so yeah, I seen a unified proclamation where the people are standing in unison with someone that they consider that has a level of leadership and messianic skills, you know, that are needed and necessary to put Africa in receivership of her of her rightful blessings, her blessings, you know, which naturally come by way of her natural resources, which are hers. And they're fighting for the right to exist, to manufacture and produce, you know, to take
Right.
part in their own industry, to be recognized and realized as human beings. You know, this is their push. This is their Aquarian humanity push. You know, see me as human. You know, they're going through what we went through. And it's at a very interesting time because the juxtaposition is that for the most part, as a society, as a people, we have went to sleep at the wheel, almost as if we have, you know, what's the word that I'm looking for? Have become, what's that word? And it's a simple word.
Neutered,
Not so much even denuded.
domesticated, content.
I think that I could use the word content. Um, we just been asleep at the wheel, and you know, we don't do very good with the signaling of the signs and the symbols that potential trouble is on the way. Like, we're not doing very good catching the similarities to the way previous plays have been done to
Right.
lead to authoritarian rule. So with the play that we saw the other day on the 28th, which was on day 99, right? So
Right.
on the last day leading up to the 100th day of Trump's presidency, feel me? He goes completely authoritarian and militarizes the police force and gives them a license to unalive,
Right.
to get out of jail free, and everything else that goes along with it. Effectively inaugurating a martial situation put
Right.
into the hands of the very man that I have been forewarning about, which is Pete Hegseth, right? Who we've already explained and laid out. You know what I mean? Ritualistically, you know, how they set it up with these 44s. I told you where it was going.
Right. Old Peter's a crusader.
So yeah,
He has a
so
tattoo.
now they have deputized the military in so many ways, deputized white supremacists, or let's say they militarized the Klan,
Basically.
and you don't know who's running down on you, who's kicking your door, and so warrantless apprehension encounters that can go any way, and it matters not which way it goes because it won't be prosecuted because he openly has attacked and declared war on the judicial, and that should have been the first sign. You feel me? So
Right.
again, that I'm amazed that people are amazed and we are enthralled about a movie. You feel me? In a fictional account about vampires, right? But they just showed you the vampires don't need to knock no more. The vampires don't need your permission to come through the front door. That's where we at.
Or the vampires are the ones running the club now. The vampires, they own the institutions, right? Similar to what they showed us in the last scene
Yeah,
of
they got
Sinners.
in, they got over smoke. You know, they over. You know what I mean? They took over all of the people in there and they switched it up.
Switched
And
it
every
up.
time somebody come in there, it's under the guise that it's a regular night, and you getting bit. You know what I'm saying? Before you get sent up out of there, like you came to a freak off party.
Right. The juxtaposition of the Coogee sweater with the Jesus piece that he was wearing, the Stacks was wearing at the end,
It's clear.
was a clear
A
um
juxtaposition, correlation, and connection. And I can unanimously show how there's three prominent melanated directors who have paid cinematic homage to Big in that epoch, in that era, with Antoine Fuqua being the most prominent one of them all. But
right.
definitely, Ryan Coogler has done it on more than one occasion. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
of
they've
course.
lionized the legacy of Tupac in their content as well.
Right.
So yeah, there's a direct connection and the correlation. Specifically, the All About the Benjamins era and the Shiny Shoe era and the crack music era. I mean, then we have to understand the subtleties of what is vampirical energy and what would a vampire look like. A vampire is someone who feasts off of the dead or brings people over to the side of dead because they have already contracted with death.
Well, in that universe that Ryan Coogler
No, no, no,
created,
no, no, no. I'm just saying in general.
in general, right?
So I will make it because I'm still making a connection and a correlation. A
Okay.
crack dealer would be a low level vamp
Yes.
because they are vamping off of the carcass of half dead that are looking to get on the side of zombie where that person is at because that person made a soul contract with a force that was other than divine when they decided to say, yeah, this is how I'm gonna spend my vacation down here.
Right.
And I'm gonna get my Benjamins like this under the guise of my angels taking, record and my shit being on the widescreen like Truman Show. And then I'm gonna be so boisterous with it. You feel me?
Right.
I'm gonna have so much hubris in it. I'm gonna grab my nuts and go diamond with it, telling my story about it.
Right. How does my audio sound for the people in the audience? Let's see.
Yeah, you coming through clear on my end, or so I don't know
Okay.
what are you hearing? Distortion?
No, I was just hearing that it was coming through low.
Yeah. So these once again are profound times, profound observations, and profound overlays. Of again a cultural critique of a piece of art that is imitating life in real time. That's the best piece of art. The art that has an aspect of mysticism to it, that takes on a life of its own, but is able to arrive at such a precise time that it can overlay. And anybody that's an editor has been dealing with, edits, what an overlay is.
Right. So my observation leading up to the end of the movie, and everybody is the observer. So the
Yes,
magic of that is that everything is up for interpretation, right?
absolutely.
And in my observation, what I saw when he came through with the Coogee on in the
Right.
Jesus piece, and he had
In the
his girl,
ring, yeah.
he had Mary bopping in with him,
And he had the ring, right?
huh? The ring,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was like, that's not Biggie that they're showing us. That's the one who stood next to Biggie with the Jesus piece, who, is more of a vampire,
Who got bit by
who got
vampires in the den? Yeah,
who has more of a vampiristic storyline through more of a vampire allure to his name,
a vampire arc. Yeah.
a vampire arc, a villain arc. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
a villainous vampire arc.
Villainous vampire arc. And that would be P. Diddy,
Yeah,
right? Because P. Diddy also had the Coogee on as well. P. Diddy brought in the Jesus piece. P. Diddy was in Catholic school. He was in the Catholic school that had an actual controversy when
essay.
he was in the Catholic school. They had a well-known the principal, as a matter of fact, was
Right,
biting people. Right.
right. He was the vampire.
He was the vampire. So Remick offered, right? Remick offered Sammy. Remick also offered Stack and everybody else the opportunity to do what? To escape poverty, right? And to live a life of what? Hedonism, you know, they had the gold coins.
Freedom, right?
So it was like we got the gold coins,
Yeah, freedom, freedom,
freedom, right? We're gonna get
immortality.
you out. Yeah, we're gonna get you out of we're gonna get you out of whatever you were in. That is exactly what was offered to Diddy through Clive Davis, right? But first the dream was given to him by Andre Harrell, and then it was reinforced by the quote unquote vampires, not in Harlem, not vampires of Brooklyn either, the vampires in the village in Greenwich Village, where they are rumored to actually be people of, let's just say paranormal
Right.
backgrounds.
Yeah, they say in New York the vampires exist in areas like Greenwich Village, of course. Devil, what's it called?
The Bowery,
What's the 42nd Street area called?
oh, Hell's Kitchen.
Hell's Kitchen,
Yeah,
and they said the Upper East Side.
right. So Andre Harrell, who was in a group called Jekyll and Hyde, right? Who they say was tended to get violent, right? The same way that all of them tend to turn into a Jekyll and Hyde. They said that Russell Simmons had a Jekyll and Hyde to him. Said that Diddy had a Jekyll and Hyde to him. They said that Andre Harrell. They also said that everybody else at the Bad Boy that they're suing, Harv Pierre, all of them have this Jekyll and Hyde type of thing where they're able to be one person and then quickly slip into another person. P. Diddy, on the other hand, came amongst somebody who, if they were to align the vampire trope to somebody in the record industry, just based off of the continuing energy harvesting of artists who are unalived, who go broke, whose souls are broken, whose spirits are broken, and whose works are stolen, it would be Clive Davis. Not to say that he's the only grand dragon or vampire in that quote unquote situation, but when you look at vampires through the lens of how Ryan Coogler reintroduced them, he reimagined the vampire trope through the Sinner's verse. And then the Sinner's verse, the vampires, as shown by Remick, right? You don't have to speculate because he said it and it was explained that the vampires are the vampires of the culture. They're the vampires of Black culture specifically. And what they do is they take Black culture and they absorb it into their culture to spice it up a little bit. But by doing such, they mess up the culture because they take away the authenticity of it. And the promise that they're giving people in poverty is the illusion of inclusion and the fact that they're going to be diversified. That is what the small hat tells you niggas when y'all sign the excuse me. That's when they tell our people and Negroes, people who don't want to read, and people who are trying to just get out and whatnot, trying to get out the house, trying to be a part of the village or trying to be a part of this quote unquote party, right? And they get bit. They get bit when they sign a contract. That's the biting part. That's when you lose your soul. Go ahead.
No, that's it. I'm saying that's where it's at.
That's where it's at. That's when they really corner
So
you.
the
Everything
contract.
else is the contract is the equivalent of the bite, because everything else is a quote unquote it's a dance, or it is a quote unquote it's a con to
Right.
get you to sign. Once you sign, then they do what they have their way with you. Similar to what they show you with the vampires. Once they bite the vampires is now owned by Remick. He could do whatever he wants to them. They're part of the orgy. They're part of the quote unquote the collective,
The
right?
covenant.
And to add insult to injury, and Rich brought this up on his show. What they're describing is an egregor. It's an egregor. Imagine how many people you know signed up for a corporate job and then came home and he was like, "Who is this person?" Imagine, what it reminded me, Blue. Remember back in the days when we lived in Flatbush, we had a friend named John. He had three brothers. They lived on 17th, and one of the brothers turned into the police.
Yep.
Right, his older brother who used to be in the street, and then
Yep.
once he disappeared for a minute and came back as a damn sergeant and was a completely different person.
Hmm.
The egregor of the fraternal order of police, right? Whatever that is, whatever egregor that is, whatever entity is attached to that, basically, you know, it took him over. It took his. That's what they explain in the Sinner's verse, that the entity takes over the body. The body is trapped. The body can't cross over, right? The body is trapped on the planet and whatnot. It can't incarnate, so it can't necessarily upgrade. It can't graduate, right? And they trick you with this immortality, similar to what these modern day technocrats are talking about with immortality, neurochips, uploading the body, freezing you, all of that Walt Disney stuff. Yes, the hive mind, soul trap, skeleton key, right? So it's so much to unpack, and we're gonna have so much fun on Saturday, Blue. Doing what we
Oh,
do.
it's so
I,
much.
yeah. Like this is gonna go. I don't know how long we're gonna be on Zoom on Saturday, but we did it on Saturday for the reason that people won't be restricted
It's the
where they
sad.
have a
I
curfew. I'm sorry, say that again.
said it's that Saturday Night Live.
It's that Saturday Night Live. You know what I'm talking about? But once again, there's so much to unpack. It's so many angles that we want to approach this thing from. Uh, it's a teaching moment for so many people. The people are still learning, still talking, still drinking from that well of knowledge and whatnot. Um, yeah, and I'm inspired. I do want to point out some more similarities as we move forward. You good?
Yep.
I'm gonna show how this movie is a continuum of a few different shows, right? And I'm gonna do one of those. I'm gonna turn into the recommend algorithm. If you like this, then you will love this.
That part.
So Afro-surrealism is something that everybody should look into. It accompanies and it stands alongside Afrofuturism. These are two niches or two genres that are very, very profitable,
You said
right?
Afrofuturism twice.
Huh?
You said Afrofuturism twice.
Afro-surrealism
Surrealism,
and
right?
Afrofuturism. So Afro-surrealism would be movies like Sorry to Bother You. Afro-surrealism would be TV shows like Atlanta. Afro-surrealism would be Get Out. Afro-surrealism would be everything Jordan Peele is doing. Afrofuturism would be Black Panther, Cosmic Slop, if you ever saw that. Any that the movie that the man who fell to the planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
The Robert Townsend movie, Meteor Man, Afrofuturism, right?
Right.
We need more of that. However,
More of it. Yes.
Afro-surrealism is showing you how you could create your own universe, right? Through the lens of a melanated, quote unquote, coroner, right? You have to, we project our story into the universe through our unique perspective and sprinkle it with a certain type of spice and sauce that only we can. Afro Samurai, Boondocks, Lovecraft. This is Afro-surrealism. There's a lot of quote unquote profit awaiting you and yours if you were to get into that, especially those that are using the AI for an assistant and you want a writing style, will prompt Afro-surrealism and Afrofuturism. And as you can see from these movies that are out here, this is a genre, an untouched genre. Tyler Perry could never, you know what I mean? It takes a specific type of creative to do these. So we need movie houses, we need movie studios completely dedicated to kicking out quality content that's going to live forever. Sinners, as you can see, when you write something a certain type of way and you infuse some type of intelligence into the fabric of it, it becomes what is known as a classic, meaning that it's going to pay your children's children's children and it will live longer than you. So you want to create timeless storylines and classics. These are the movies that are part of the Sinners verse through continuum. Lovecraft, country, Jonathan Majors, Jussie Smollett's sister, my dude Omar from The Wire, his last piece of work before he made transition.
Michael White. Right.
Right. And there's a few others.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely must see.
Absolutely must see. It goes way further than even Sinners. If that means anything to anyone, it goes further than that. And Annie is also in there. The
One of
other,
the most monumental roles of all time.
yeah, monumental.
Demon Slayer.
Hippolyta.
She was a demon slayer.
She was a demon slayer, right? Yes, Annie was in there getting busy. That's when I was first introduced to
Yeah,
her.
she got bodies on bodies. All right, let's go.
She got Watchmen.
Yeah, that one now.
Watchmen
That one
with
now.
Regina King. With Dr. Manhattan, who is the most powerful deity in the DC universe. You can look it up. Don't take my word for it. Go and look it up. Dr. Manhattan, more powerful than Superman and all of them. The most powerful deity slash being slash superhero in the DC universe. And in that TV show, a black man by the name of Calvin was him the whole quote unquote series. And then at the end, a black woman, right? Regina King became Dr. Manhattan. So they did not give them a season 2 after that. American Gods, right?
Talk
So if
about
you
it.
want to understand the concept of what Remick was, if you want to understand the concept of just gods coming over, gods and devils coming to the shores of a Mexim or America throughout the time when different people were coming over here, and how
They
you could
brought their
bring
gods with them.
about,
The people came and they brought their gods with them.
people came, they brought their gods with them. All of these TV shows have the agenda written into them. They all pregnant pauses. I'm just gonna say that for sure. All every single one of them have a pregnant pause moment. But we gotta be able to accept the fact that in all storylines and in all universes, that is a part of Jinn activity. That is the part of what it is you're gonna see. That's a part of vampirism. And then with that being said, Interview with a Vampire that was on Netflix, that the most pregnant pause out of all of the series. I'm talking about pregnant with twins pause. Yeah, Interview with a Vampire, the new one, right? That is also a part of that continuum, because that is talking about the vampire. Oh yes, remember the Sandman that came
Yes,
on?
man.
Sandman is a part of that continuum. Yes, the Sandman was
Definitely,
going
man.
the F in.
But I would say go back to the first interview because they was in Louisiana as well, and they explained the fascination with the plantation.
The one with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, the
The
first
original Interview with a Vampire is must see. The Lost Boys is
one.
must see.
That's
The
Lord
Lost
Epic.
Boys with Keith Sutherland, that is must see. Have to see. That might be the that's not the top one, but for our generation, that was. Underworld came afterwards. Also in the continuum of the TV shows is Amazon Prime, The Boys. Another pregnant pause. But once you get around all that, somebody, whoever's in the audience that could be a legend, will come out with the box set of all those shows with the pause moments removed.
Facts.
Or you might just interject some twerking in every scene where there's some pause worthy shit.
Yeah,
You'll be a legend if you came out with
with a
that box
twerk
set.
overlay over it.
Yeah, some overlay. Lost Boys, though, they the ones that came with the concept of letting the vampires in. That's the movie that helped a lot of people who are latchkey kids not open the door, bro.
Right.
After I saw Lost Boys, I wasn't letting nobody in.
Yeah, that did a lot more for children than their parents is telling them.
Yep,
Don't
all
answer,
that
don't open
stranger
the door.
danger and all of that. Nah, the Lost Boys
Those
with a
boys did it.
vampire explained that you gotta let them in.
Gotta let them in.
Gotta let them in. So, of course, Vampire in Brooklyn, Spawn, of course. Yes, Spawn is up there. Blade, no question. Well, I gotta say that because people might not realize. Yes, Blade is the father of all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lost Boys is more classic than Blade. If you were to ask me on some vampire shit, I don't know. It just hit it. It hit differently.
Okay,
Fright Night, yes, Fright Night.
that's my shit.
Woo, Fright Night.
Fright Night.
My nigga turned to the vampire.
Werewolf in London.
Werewolf in London. Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm.
Because people is bringing up Dust Till Dawn a lot, but nobody's talking about how crazy that shit was.
That's the bones. Right.
Blackula, Evil Dead.
Evil Dead was crazy.
You said, can we put Thriller in there? Of course.
Yeah, that's how they
Of
was turning. They was turning.
course is, yeah. Thriller start turning niggas.
You know what I mean?
Yes, Nightmare on Elm Street taught us not to sleep. Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then also to study
Bram
the
Stoker Dracula's legendary.
to study the illest ritual ever in a vampire movie, Queen of the Damned. Just to study it, to study the illest ritual that they ever did is Aaliyah. They bodied her on film and then bodied her in real life. Double bodies on body.
You want to explain that because that could sound real heavyweight to somebody that's just in the audience to say, "Wait, what?"
Right. So Queen of the
Oh,
Dam is a
movie and
movie about Lestat, right? One of the more odd scenes that I've ever seen in horror or in a vampire movie is when the lead gets taken out in the middle of the movie, right? The way that they took her out by basically eating her or feasting on her, eating her louche, feasting on her aura, and then turning her into stone, and that stone being crumbled and crushed. Yeah, it sent chills through my body when I saw it. Straight like that. I was like, nah, that's crazy.
mine.
And huh?
I was high as a kite when I seen it,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, they just did that girl something dirty."
Something real dirty. You know what I mean? Even the way that they filmed the eating scene is like they superimpose. It looked like they put two different films on top of one another. She was in real life embracing Kemet. She was slithering into her comedic self and whatnot. She was gonna be in a Matrix, and then it was like they kind of like snuffed all of that out on some old. Nah, we're not trying to have that. We're gonna dress you up like an Egyptian vampire and body you. Give that power to Lestat, and then give your ass Taylor Swift for one of these chicks later on and shit.
Mm,
Give you Lady Gaga in this bitch. You know what I mean? So they lined her up.
mm.
And these things happen in film,
Yeah, ritualistically.
you know. Especially when we find out who the vampires are in Hollywood and how they work and whatnot.
Again, it's also very interesting that Harvey Weinstein's retrial is taking place. Nobody's talking about that.
Yes, they're trying to slip that through the cracks so he could try to slither his way up out of because maybe some people are in power now. There wasn't around that time, and they could pull a few plugs. But he been standing on business in terms of not leaking the faucet. That's why he's still alive, because he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried.
Hmm.
You know, him and Chris. It's two of them that's still alive right now. That are pieces in that on that chessboard that could checkmate somebody. It's the chick, um, the Jeffrey
Grislane.
Grislane and Harvey. You know,
Lane and Harvey could do him dirty,
Diddy could do him dirty too.
quite possibly.
You know,
Quite possibly. So yeah, this is once again one of those stories that interlock and interlink and interchain all things. Utilizing, of course, I utilize the number 44, and I can run a thread through everything. So expect that. Know that you're gonna see Shador, the Pope, the movie, politics, you name it. You feel me? Everything is connected. Everything is sharing a heartbeat, and I love it. It's a beautiful observation.
right,
I have released myself. I'm resignation of salvation or damnation, meaning that you know I don't want to necessarily overjudge the things that I'm observing, just for the sake of understanding them. know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It's some would say it's human nature, and I would be like, yeah, it may be a distorted version of it from your perspective, but yeah, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? What we're observing is human nature, even if it's faulty human nature.
Right. Of course. Real quick, Pope Pablo, I want to
Yes,
talk to you about the two Eli's.
yes,
I want to speak some biblical lore tonight.
let's do it.
Um, let's talk about Elijah. Both of the twins, the smokestack twins in the movie Sinners, both of their names are Elijah, Eliah, and Elijah.
Yes,
Um, and also Sammy. So in the Bible, story of Elijah and Sammy is very interesting. Can we speak about the tale of two Eli's and the
yes,
significance between the two and why Ryan Coogler wrote, these twins into the narrative, um, and how masterful that was?
yes. Well, I believe that in the Bible, a mother had two sons, and one of them was Elijah, and the other one was, um, I want to say Elias, like his brother's name, but it might have been
Yes.
something different, right? But nonetheless, she wanted, they was in the streets, let's just put it like that. You know what I mean? They was knuckleheads, and she wanted to put them on the right path. So she found a trusted elder, a prophet, somebody that, can give them proper guidance. And this person was Eli, like how we were introduced through the book of Eli. So Eli was giving guidance to the two different variations or versions of Eli, which is Elijah and Elias. Um, and I quite don't remember exactly how the story ended, but somebody got clipped, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just like in the movie when one of the brothers got clipped, and they straight, they were not. He was the wild style ones. He was the rough. Yeah, Elias and Elijah remained to be the inherent prophet after Eli passed on, and we know about Elijah the prophet. You know what I'm saying? I think
Yes.
Elijah the prophet was prominent during the time of possibly King David and them. He was around, right? But Elijah the prophet is very prominent, you know, in the book, in the
Yes, he
role that
is.
he plays. And again, through gematria, I'm gonna really be able to show you how these are the two Eli's, because I can show you numerically. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There was a juxtaposition with those two names. That yes, even though they're off by a few letters, they are that that twin energy. So I don't know whether that was planned or not, but it's amazing how it arrived, and it's super crazy how they put that religious undertone of the story of Elijah and Eli in the movie. That was stupid. Like they they can. There's so many knots, bro.
Right. So many. Um, yeah, I really appreciate, the way that the biblical narrative is interwoven into this story, and it brings people into the Bible who may be unfamiliar with these stories and whatnot.
And it's
Um,
layered. It's layered. It's thick.
very, very much so.
Coats of it.
There's been talk of Sammy being Samson and Delia being the girls who coochie he ate. I'm sorry, what was her name? I
What was it
know.
like, Bernice or so? What was it?
Yeah, Bernice Burgos.
Well,
Sammy
yeah,
Sharp.
and in that essence, she represented his temptations. Um,
Yeah, she was a married woman.
she was a married woman,
So
so his
she represented a
temptations
Jezebel.
represented somewhat of a Jezebel spirit.
But
or
they were saying that she was a Delilah and he was Samson in a sense.
yeah, that as well. He had overtones of Samson as Sammy, more so than Shamael or Samuel, you know,
Okay, Pearline. I'm sorry, Pearline.
Pearline.
Pearline, who
Yeah.
walked all the
Oh,
way to the juke joint, might I add, might I remind you.
wow.
Yeah,
She had
that
the
good
cash
walk.
for she had
Hmm?
the cash for it. Shit. Pearline. Yeah, man. Um, like as Pope Pablo, how I like to teach the book and I like to give it, context and modern day overlays where you can see it, what I mean, acting out in the people in the present day. You feel me?
Yes.
So I really appreciated the layering of how they were telling so many biblical narratives and tales and axioms and everything else was playing out. You know, when I read about the set design, the deliberateness of how, they put the Easter eggs in the build out of the chapel
Mm-hmm.
with the X and everything, and paid homage to the thrice king, which is
Mm.
Chadwick Boseman, right? And again, the majesticness of this movie being about the raising of a son, during the coming out on Good Friday, having during Holy Week, which inaugurates the raising of the sun on 420. You know what I mean? So it was just the alignment was crazy, bro. Just the way that this story is overlapping and overlaying so many other stories and reinforcing, but also as a warning and a beacon call and a signal that you can't go to sleep at the wheel because they at the door. They at it right now,
Yes, they are.
right now, and they ain't got to knock no more.
Mm. Man, that was deep.
Yeah,
That was deep.
and yeah, and silver won't work no more. So now what? Neither will garlic.
Garlic ain't working. Those prayers ain't working.
Yeah,
Silver not working.
and they got a vest on. How you gonna get a wooden stake through that?
They got a they
They got
took
a shield.
they got a Jabberwocky for that shit.
Yeah, they got the Jabberwocky. They
They
got
immunized.
AI engineered them something.
Nashawn said red and blue, let's write a script. I'm with it.
All the way with it. I would like to remind people. I'll just drop a brief. You know, well, I can't say remind you because you may not have known, but I share with Red that there's a burgeoning industry for mini soaps, like soap operas that are like a minute or two long, short reels, but real movies. And the first time I seen this was on Amazon, where they had like 3, 5, and 7 minute shorts, and these was whole movies. And I was like, oh, somebody put a short out that was 3 minutes, and they got shorts out that are 1 minute. And this genre of film is in the millions. These apps are very successful, number one in the Apple Store and all of that. So yeah, I already envisioned that we need to put together this 30 episode script. You know what I mean? And I won't share everything on the air, but I share with you, the angle and everything. So yeah, Nate Sean, we definitely gonna need you. Specifically for wardrobing. You know what I mean? Because this shows you we can shoot timepieces. It's all in the script and in the execution. You know, good acting could carry over any script.
Like Nashawn to tell you, we went and seen it the first time, and it's like at first, I ain't gonna lie, the movie was so layered that it didn't start to unfold until I had to sit down and just think about what I saw, bro. And it started unfolding. But the
Yeah, yeah,
fresh
yeah. It ain't
paint,
it ain't it ain't all smack me all at once. It
yeah,
was
the
it was
fresh
the
paint
ripple.
didn't
It
all
was
smack me at once.
the further, even now, the further that I fall from it, the more I see.
Right. I had to move away from
You
it
got to move
in
away
order
from
to
it. It's
see what
like
I was
boom,
up
right here. I
against.
couldn't. Right here was impact,
Impact, right.
and it's like, when you fall back in slow motion, you start seeing the scale, the slides, the connections, the threads. You like, yo, this is going to be a forever moment
It is. It
in,
is.
in not just cinematic history, but yeah, how someone utilized cinema as a clarion call, as a warning, a forewarning as to what is to come. Because we're gonna hear a lot of references coming from that in the cultural zeitgeist in the next 6 months when these people really show their fangs. You know what I'm saying? They really show their fangs, and you
I
really
mean,
understand. Hmm?
I said that the vampire has already showed their fangs. However, I do know that people need to see more. They need to see more fang action.
Oh, they. Well, let me not speak on their behalf to speak anything of their plans into existence, but I would say that they are layering and making all of the necessary moves in the playbook to to be uninhibited when the showing of the fangs and the biting takes place and the purging that comes with that. So yeah, like we again, we could be enraptured in the cinematics and the magic of cinema, but we need to look at it as a timepiece that speaks to right now, the now time, and really put in perspective, in a spiritual sense, who would be the remnants in this society, right?
Remix.
If yeah, remnant, if the message was that these are culture vultures or vampires of quote unquote melanated culture, then who are the cultures in our society? Where's the vulturing taking place? I think once again another overlay, and one that we cannot dismiss or be blind to, is the obvious overlay between the Drake and Kendrick situation. And how do we tie that in? By Kendrick inserting himself into the conversation directly with reincarnation. That first verse speaks about the blues player with the guitar
With the
that
guitar.
left the father's home. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? They went on the other path and it was at the crossroads.
Yep.
You feel me? So and I mean, not only that, there's other things that we can even see throughout the movie that make the connection. And we know that on paper, his connection is with the movie because he did the soundtrack for, Black Panther. So tied in with Kugler, that West Coast activation, that reminded it twice this year. We seen West Coast artists utilizing one of the biggest stages in this country to and these are the two biggest woke artists from the era when woke was getting cemented as pressure on the people who responded because they couldn't stand the pressure. It was when Black Panther came out, and it was when Humble and Damn came out. And Damn was
You're
supposed
gonna
to
be all
be,
right.
we gonna be all right, but yeah, we
The
all
album
of
down.
that,
Mm-hmm.
that damnation. Just like this is dealing with salvation versus damnation. Sinners, red and blue, right? Just like his album was framed to be. And what did they say? He was supposed to come out with the second disc. When? Do you remember? Do your memory go back to Damn when they were saying that there was a red and blue album? And he was
Yeah,
supposed to
but
put
I
out the
didn't know
second
when.
album during Easter.
Okay.
During Easter, bro.
During Easter. Okay.
Yeah. Just like this situation where this movie comes out on Easter.
And it will forever be locked into, you know, the conversation because the Pope actually made transition that same weekend. And this movie is shining a light on the religion that the Pope is supposed to be
on
the
on 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 the main vampire of them all.
main one.
which would be the Catholic Church,
Main one.
who utilizes a doctored image, a DEI image of a deity. And that within itself is a vampirical practice that robs the true and original messianic force from being properly received,
Acknowledge.
acknowledged, and understood. The nuance of what that story meant and what it really means to marginalize people specifically around the planet. And being marginalized is not nothing about a skin tone.
Right.
You feel me? That's why the story appeals to so many people. They ain't have to see the face; it's the story. But for you to
Right.
propagate an entire DEI concoction with a Caesar Borgia image of what the Christos is, and enforcing that concept, right, to bring in a anglicized narrative about those people's involvement, so you can then fake the other concoction that y'all pulling over there in the Middle East. That when you see them people, you make a correlation. Oh well, if these people is religion, then them people got to be their counterparts. It's like, nah, both of them is cosplaying.
They both
All of
are.
them is cosplaying. Matter of fact,
Hold on. For my Instagram family, if you want to continue with us, move over to Notaledge 44 on YouTube because the stream may cut, right? It may cut and it may not. You know what I mean? But if it does,
it's coming up on this hour.
it's
So it's
coming up on an hour. And if you want to get tickets for this upcoming lecture that we have
yes,
Saturday, go to the inbox on IG. Go to the inbox on IG. The tickets are in my link tree. And if you're on YouTube,
mine as well.
yeah, Blue Pill as well. If you're on YouTube, we'll drop them into the chat. What up, Ben? What's popping? He said that would have been fire to see y'all in the flick as the twins. Well, we're the muse to the twins that you saw in the flick. So when you saw Michael B. Jordan, then you basically saw us. Um, Remy would be today's terms. Remick, not
Remy,
Remy. Remick would be Clive Davis. Remick would be Lyre Cohen. Remick would be
Lucia Grange,
Lucy and Grange. Remick would be the Brofmans. Remick would be Iveen. Remick would be the people at Empire. So that's who we're looking at as the bloodsuckers. Remick is Vlad. Remick is Adam 22. They are the vampires of the culture who extracted the quote unquote heart out of it in the blood. They it was a blood transfusion. The blood that they transferred from the corpse was wealthy and rich with melanin, and they've been able to water the lawns in Tel Aviv, and they've been able to water the arid desert lawns in the mountains of Hollywood and other places. Jerry Heller is Remick, right? And they've watered their lawns without blood, right? Because the way that they set it up through, and it could be proven and it will be proven, and I can't wait for this to come up May 31st, the hip hop conspiracy theorem with Wesley Muhammad, who will prove beyond any reasonable doubt. He's bringing receipts. We're going to prove a theory and turn it into a theorem
that part,
about the hip hop conspiracy, huh?
that part.
Yes, about these vampires. Look, these are the vampires right here that we dealing with, right? These are the vampires right here that we dealing with. This is the big homies. This is the legion of vampires. This is the quote unquote the hierarchy of them, right? So listen when I tell you that we are out here vampire hunting, okay? Nothing has changed. Me and Blue, instead of selling bootleg liquor, we selling mocktails and smoothies and gold water. Feel me? Instead of silver, silver bullets and silver spray and colloidal silver.
It's still silver, silver all the
Instead
same.
of hitting them with
But
wooden
wait,
stakes, we hitting them with the stakes of these daggers that we hitting them with this information in the light instead of the sunlight. We shining the light on these people. You feel me? On these
consciousness.
devils, on these entities, and these are bloodsuckers. These are leeches. These are quote unquote parasites, right? And people are intimidated and they're afraid to detox and they're afraid to get rid of these parasites and they're afraid to flush, but we're not. Okay. So we're going to, once again, like we always do, we're going to walk them down. You feel me? We're going to walk them down. This lecture that we got multiple layers to it. It's not only a decoding of the movie because enough people have already did that. The
Right.
decoding has taken place. This is a recoding, right? This is a recoding. This is a transmission sent by two twins to give you the message that not only this movie is trying to tell us, but what the universe is trying to tell us. How can I purchase the lecture? Let me drop the link right now in the chat so you could go ahead and grab
Please
that.
do.
And I'm also going to put it in the description as well. So, and it is on Saturday at 8 p.m. Zoom only, and definitely only Zoom because we don't want to set off any of the quote unquote triggers when you could get your channel taken if you're showing, clips, but we want to show clips from the movie and other things. Okay.
Mm.
So, yeah. And it will be recorded as well for replay for all tickets holders. And for my Patreons, this will be available for our members, Rainbow, Opal, and all the way up. But we walking these demons down. I shit you not. Walking them down. And we're gonna continue to shine these lights. We're gonna continue to kill these parasites. We're gonna continue to quote unquote point um point them out. We're gonna point them out. 5 Pacific. We're gonna point them out. So
That spotlight on them.
yeah, we gotta put that spotlight on them, y'all.
But
Um,
yeah, again, I'm tapping in with y'all later tonight. You know what I mean? And we're gonna continue the conversation.
Third Eye Thursdays tonight on Know the Ledger 444, ladies and gentlemen. Third Eye Thursdays tonight on Know the Ledger 444. Featuring Red Pillar, Blue Pillar, the Twin Pillars. Be in the building with us. Like I said, the conversation is unlimited. You know what I mean? It's an endless quote unquote rabbit hole. So we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of shit going on in the world right now. So tonight, Third Eye Thursdays, we are going to continue this conversation. This is only a warm up. We want to remind the family to go and get your tickets for this lecture that is coming up entitled Saints and Sinners. You can scan the QR code right there, as a matter of fact. Scan the QR code right there, as a matter of fact. Scan the QR code, and that will give you access to your tickets. Yeah, Zoom only. All right, Zoom only. Tonight will be on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern. 9 p.m. Eastern on Third Eye Thursday. 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay? We'll be in the building 9 p.m.
Yeah,
Eastern.
family. They got me breaking my curfew. I'll get my hour though.
Yeah. He's gonna give us an hour and then we back. You know what I mean? And we're gonna let him go and get his rest. But just know that we in the lab working hard leading up to Saturday, breaking these books open. I'm diving in. I'm going on my Black Hermit. You know what I mean? I'm on my Bobby shit. I'm eating my Scooby snacks, doing my push-ups and my jumping jacks, getting my breathing right. And we're gonna deliver another classic. Shout out to KT the Arts Degree. That's a compliment. That's a contemporary lecture. That's an additive because he's the Arts Degree. He's Sammy. Smoke and Stack, the Smokestack twins, Red and Blue. KT is Samuel. So you definitely want to tap into the Preacher Boy and see what he's talking about. I know that he has a decoding on his Patreon. What happened?
Yeah, he has it on. He pushed it back to the 10th.
May 10th.
So his will be the next Saturday.
Okay, so yes,
we'll be pushing that and highly recommending that people go and get the capstone of it. But based on what you get from Red, Blue, and KT, you're gonna have a definitive, anthology that you can pass to your children's children. Because again, this is one of the movies. It won't go nowhere. It'll be permanently. You know how the Matrix is one of those staples.
Yeah.
That's one of them ones.
Yep. There's so much to draw. I mean, I could even get into it now, but I won't.
Yeah.
Tonight we'll touch on some things. I'll show some slides for my lecture that I'm putting together tonight. I'll just take a little, we'll do a little something in that category. But yeah, man, I want to say thank you to everybody in the building joining us tonight. For my Patreons, tomorrow we will be in the building. This is the last show for the Fantasy Complex Industry Reloaded with me and the good brother Spin. I might even be doing Techno Thursday today. I'm not too sure about that. I'll keep y'all updated, but we do have to catch up with Techno Tuesdays. But we're doing a makeup show because there's mad shit going on in this in the AI world. Saturday is this lecture. It's not Sunday. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Saturday night, 8 p.m. is
Saturday night.
Saturday night. So this is the real Saturday Night Live, but it's just a lecture this time because it's research, heavy research. It's going to be both me and Blue. It may go 7 hours. It may go 5. I don't know. We have no, however long it takes to get the message out. You know what I mean? I'm stacking my deck very tall. I don't know. I know Blue is working. So, yeah. Anything else you want to share?
I said I'm bringing it. You feel me? My shit is upstairs. My shit is a dissertation. This is very well rounded, and again, I'm honored for the opportunity to use my paintbrush in such a way, to create this mosaic art piece, and that's what my presentation will be. That, like you said, a recoding. You feel me?
Recode.
Yeah, I gotta do. It's multiple duties that I signed up to do that I'm be able to execute through this one execution. So I'm on it.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later on tonight, Third Eye Thursdays. Peace, love, and light. Y'all stay dangerous, all right? One.
Red, blue, purple light. Red, blue, purple light. Friends, facts. Red, blue, purple light. Friends, red and blue, purple light. Friends, facts. You can get to know the ledger, sacrilegious Sunday to melanin Monday. You can get to know the ledger, my love. Just open your third eye on Thursday. Lord, the food, the art, the clothes, the Vatican's getting exposed fast. We put the show on the road. You better stay on your toes. I was till the land focused on the ego. Then I opened my heart, let go of the ego. Grand after grand, we stacking up these C notes. Facts, facts, yeah. We gon' put this shit on our backs. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. love and light. Peace, love to the family. Peace, love and light to the family. Peace, love and light to the family.
These days and time, black man, is going to be the time that you have been waiting for. You came here for a reason. Whatever pressure, whatever adversity, whatever the fuck you feel, I don't know what you feel, but whatever you may be feeling is going to push you, and it's going to provoke you, and it's either going to make you or break you, similar to how pressure busts pipes or the shit makes diamonds.